In the last week or so, we saw a bunch of really amazing AI updates, like we have every week. But this last week, we had one in particular from Google called Veo 3. And it was amazing to see the incredible videos that you can create with that now. Some of them coming through are so real, you can't tell the difference between reality and what's been created with AI. And I think this creates a bunch of very interesting implications for us as humans and what that means for us going into the future. So inside this podcast episode, I want to explore the future of humanity a little bit in terms of AI and how we're going to work together with AI. And very importantly, what we can do as human beings to survive in the future world where AI is kind of taking over everything. So I've titled this podcast, Your Last Moat, because it's a bit of a test for me. It might be a book that I want to write later on, or a brand that I want to create, or a free resource or something. Maybe you can let me know in the comments if you think it's got legs or not, or whether you think we need to change it. But I want to explore this idea of the last moat that we have available as humans. And that's exactly what I'm going to be covering inside this episode. So it's been a very, very interesting few weeks leading up to this point. Just last week, we had a massive release of Google's suite of AI tools. One of them that came through was Veo 3. I'm not sure if you've seen the clips that's been produced by them. A lot of them are like interview clips at conferences. Some are ones where the characters are prompted to say that they've been prompted, and it creates this really weird effect where the characters themselves are saying, hey, we're just prompts, but it looks so real, and it looks like they're caught in this AI world, and they don't even know that they're not real. They're acting as if they're real people, but they're saying that they're asking themselves and they're questioning whether they're just prompts. And it sort of raises all these really interesting questions about what's real and what's not, and the implications that has for us as creative people, as founders, as really anybody going forward. Like, one of the biggest things I think that a lot of people are talking about and worrying about is whether AI will replace us as humans, especially in the workforce to start off with. And I think there's a yes and a no answer to that. And maybe let's explore both of those. So I think one of the first things people are really worried about is that our jobs are going to get taken over by AI. And I think that's true to a certain degree. Like, a lot of jobs that humans are still doing at the moment are going to get replaced. In fact, a lot of jobs that humans have been doing since this AI revolution have already been taken over by AI. Just in the last 2 days, I came up with this idea of Your Last Moat. It's a new book idea or a new brand idea. I'm not quite sure yet what it's going to be, but I used AI to come up with a name, or to help me at least refine the name. I used AI to help me with the tagline, and I did a ton of research to compare the name with other New York Times bestsellers, etc., etc. Something that in the past would require a lot more research and time from me, or hiring someone to do that for me. So that role was already overtaken by AI. Then once I had the title of the book and the subtitle, I went to lovart.ai to create the book cover for me. And let me actually just quickly show that to you, what that looks like. So if you look on my screen here, you'll see these are a bunch of designs. So at first, I'll just show you the first one. There it is. This was the first one that got created. And my prompt was very, very simple. I just said, here's the name, here's the subtitle. Create something for me that you think might look nice. And I had a reference image that I thought might look nice. And then I had another revision. And the third one that came through, this one here, is the one that I actually settled on, for now anyway. So this one really grabbed my attention and had all the elements there that looked good. A nice blue sort of dark background, yellow sort of text for contrast, and had a bit of a castle in there, showing everything nicely. So if you're just listening to this, it's like I'm describing the cover here. It's like a nice blue background to sort of create that mysteriousness, but also authority, but then also some sort of background pattern that shows, something to do with AI or some sort of technology stuff. And then nice big bold letters, Your Last Moat, as the title, and the subtitles, the one advantage AI can't replace. And it's got my name down the bottom as well. So it looks just like a book cover. In fact, the other one that I created was, where is it? This one here. I got it to create a 3D version of the book as well. Now, previously, for me to be able to do this, I would have to either do it myself with something like Photoshop or, whatever other tools are around to be able to do that. Or if I didn't want to do it myself, I'd have to hire a graphics designer to do that for me. So you can already see now here, and just for reference, these images, the time that it took me, the active time that it took me was literally a few minutes to be able to generate these. Now, the AI itself took a bit longer because I'd give the prompt and then it would take a while to create something. And, so overall, maybe I'd say 2 hours all up to get me something that I was happy with. Maybe not even 2 hours because I was doing other things as well. But anyway, the point is that I didn't need to work with a developer or with a graphics designer or with a very smart advisor to advise me on the name of the book, the title of the book, and even the design of the book. And I've been able to get this stuff happening at the end of my fingertips very, very quickly. And so already there are at least 2 positions that will have been replaced by AI. And whereas previously I might have possibly asked or paid other people to do that work for me, now I'm paying AI to do that work for me. So in a way, those jobs or those roles have been replaced by AI. And so I think a lot of people in those roles, like in the creative roles or in the knowledge kind of roles, might be thinking, hey, my job's going to get replaced. And I think in that sense, yes, the answer is yes. However, it doesn't mean that you will be out of a job. I think all it means is that you will be able to do your job much better and much faster. And I think that's the shift you've got to move towards. Let me give you an example here. The other day I went for a walk and I saw a lady bike past on her electric bicycle. It was a bicycle, not a scooter or a motorbike. It was a bicycle, right? And she was zipping by fast. Like, wow, it's like it looked so cool because she was hardly pedaling and it looked like she was on a motorbike, but she was just on a electric bicycle. And I thought, how cool is that? And I thought, 5 years ago, I would have maybe seen the same lady and she would have still been on a bike, but she would have gone a lot slower. So what's the difference here? Her tool improved. The tool to help her get from A to B has improved. So no longer does she use a manual bike to pedal to get from A to B. She now used the electric one, which was much faster to get her from A to B and also a lot more fun, to do that. And that's the way that I look at AI. AI is the tool. The job didn't get replaced. The job is still there. But for you as the person doing that job, I think you've got to start thinking about how can you look at your job as just a tool to help either you or your clients get from A to B. And so that way, you don't have to get replaced. You just need to be upgraded in a way to start using these tools to help you do your job better and faster and more efficiently. And I think that's really cool. So yes, a lot of jobs could be displaced, but it doesn't mean that you won't have a job anymore. It might actually mean the opposite. It might mean that you can do more, that you can do better, that you can do faster compared to what you're able to do before with the use of AI. So to come back to this idea of your last moat, which is what the idea or the concept of this book is about, and please feel free in the comments to let me know your thoughts on this, whether I'm on the right track or not. But what I'm thinking for this is that, your last moat it's going to be essentially you, but you in the context of how you can build an audience for yourself, build trust with that audience, and use AI to help you make that happen. Because when you think about what's been happening with AI, it's essentially reduced the time from idea to manifestation. Like let's look at a traditional founder in the old days. You would need, if you wanted to build some software, you would need a development team, you'd need some funding, either bootstrap, your own money or VC funding, whatever else. And you need the people, right, to do the actual work. etc., etc. So it'd be very resource intensive to be able to do that. And then it would take time. It would take time for you to create something of value. Now you can do the same thing with vibe coding. There's an example where I saw a competitor of ours. Basically, they didn't copy us, but they created the same solution, but they did it within a month. And it took us like a year to do the same sort of thing. And so the point I'm making is that with AI, you're able to go from idea to manifestation much shorter. So that moat that we used to have as founders to say, hey, we've spent a lot of time and money and resources into creating the value here, that moat is gone. That moat is completely gone now, because you can have a little kid in his mother's basement, vibe coding the same thing without any money, without a team, much, much faster. And so that moat's been removed. And in the same way that, if you're a graphic designer, your moat of being the best graphic designer in town is getting removed. I mean, look at what I just did with Lovart.ai. I was able to create a cover, some slides for me. I even create some slides for a presentation along those lines, because I'm giving a presentation on this later. I was able to create a 3D version of the book without even talking to a graphic designer. The same is happening with video. Descript just released, or they haven't released this yet, but they've got a beta version of it where you can vibe edit videos now. So you just talk to it and it does the editing for you. Again, it's like instead of, I would normally talk on Slack to my editors. Instead of talking on Slack to my editors and waiting hours or sometimes days to get something back, I can now do the same kind of talking. That is exactly the same, except I get the result back immediately. So for video editors, for graphic designers, for founders, for developers, those moats that you used to value is completely getting demolished. The moats, and let me just go, sorry, I haven't really explained this, but if you're new to this idea of a moat, if you think back to the old days when there were castles in medieval times, one of the things that they had to protect the castle was a moat. And a moat was basically just like a ditch with water in it, and to prevent the enemy from getting to the castle. And it was sort of like the last sort of resource, or the last thing that you could have to protect the castle, when the enemy came. And, it was sort of hard to cross it over because they'd lift up the bridge and, people would have to swim over, and, they probably didn't have good boats or whatever back then, and like imagine wearing heavy armor, etc. You just sink when you get into the moat. So it's like that last sort of thing there to protect you from getting defeated. And I think it's a very valuable visual to think about when we think about AI, because previously we'd have all these other moats. They often talk about having moats, to help protect your business, like your IP, your development, like your developers, smart people in your business, etc., etc. There's a whole bunch of potential moats that you could have in your business to help you compete and to help you have that competitive advantage. A lot of those have now been removed, or are getting removed, or are in the process of getting completely squashed because of AI. And a lot of people are freaking out about it, and I'm thinking, no, there's probably no need to freak out. A better response is to think, how can we ride this wave? How can we position ourselves as creative people to use this to our advantage? And that's where this idea of your last moat comes from. So what I'm thinking is that the way to the future is that it's going to come down to, some people call this different things, but it's going to come down to one word we could use for this: distribution. But it's not just that. It's okay. Let's take it back to the simplest way of looking at business. To be able to get a transaction, you need three things. You need an audience. You need to make an offer to that audience, and for that offer to convert, you need to have trust with that audience. You remove any one of those threes, it's like three things. It's like the three legs of a stool. If you remove any one of them, the stool falls over, the little chair or whatever you want to call it. So you need all three. Now, think about it. The offer. most of the things that comes down to creating the offer, which is your product or your service or the value that you create, is getting overtaken by AI. So to create a software product, you can vibe code that. To create videos, you can vibe edit that. To create graphics, you can vibe create those now. So the value, the thing that you want to sell, is getting replaced by AI. So those previously accepted moats are no longer moats. And what remains? Okay, there's the audience and trust that remains. Okay, can AI take that over as well? Well, potentially. This is why I'm calling it the last moat. So will it be a moat that lasts or not? Time will tell. But what I can say is that at the moment, the key difference between you becoming successful or not is going to come down to you being able to present your offer that was either created with humans or with AI. It doesn't matter. You've got something value that you're providing to the world, but being able to get it in front of people and for those people to trust you or whoever, if it's either you or your brand, whoever's making the offer, there needs to be that level of trust with that audience to be able to make that conversion happen. And that becomes your last moat. So it's, yes, you can use the word maybe distribution, whatever, to describe that. But I think it's more than that. It is, if we just hone in on that, it really comes down to there's audience, like access to an audience. That's one part of it. The second part of it is capturing a certain portion of that audience. And the third part of that is building a relationship with that audience. And that becomes your moat. Because that, at the moment, as far as I can tell, is still very hard. Maybe, I'm hoping, is impossible for AI to copy or to replace. And here's the reason. And that reason is getting weaker and weaker by the minute. But, okay, let me give an example here to illustrate this. If you could choose between two things, either you could be in the room with Albert Einstein, say he was alive, and you could talk to him in person, and he could respond to you back in real time. You're there in the room with him. Or let's say it's not Einstein, maybe it's another one of your business heroes or mentors or heroes or whoever you think you might want to talk to. Let's say it's your spouse, and they're really there in the room with you. Would you prefer that? Or would you prefer talking to the clone of that person? Which one, as a human, even if the clone was so good that you couldn't tell the difference, which one would you rather talk to? It's almost like that story of, I can't remember where it's from, but there was a man in a not a museum, what do you call it? We have paintings, art gallery, and he was looking at the two, and he goes, "These are exactly the same, but one of them is way more expensive than the other," or it was something along those lines. He was looking at the two paintings, and they were exactly the same. And he asked the curator, what's the deal here? We've got two paintings here are exactly the same. And he goes, "Yeah, one is real, one's a fake," and the real one obviously has a way bigger price. And way more people look at the real one than the fake one, even though they look exactly the same. Why is that? Why do we value that authenticity so much? I don't really have a good answer for that because I'm not a psychologist. But what I do know, at least for now, the way we are wired is that we value the authentic thing more than the copy of that thing. Like when you buy something that's authentic, when you pay money for it, you pay more when it's the real original thing rather than a copy of the thing. That's just how it works, right? Because there's only one of that original thing. There's only one hero that you have, only one Albert Einstein, only one Elon Musk, or only one whoever it is that you might want to talk to in person. And then there could be a million clones. So we value that authenticity, that realness. And this, to me, is the last moat. This is the last moat that AI cannot replace. They can copy it, but they cannot replace it. They cannot replace you. They cannot replace the relationship that people have with you. Now, is that possible to fake that? And is it going to be possible to fake that even more in the future with video creation or video production or video, whatever you want to call it in the future? It's going to be so good that people won't be able to even know the difference between a real person and a generated person. I guess that is the question. Will people still value the real connection with you? And how will they know? How will they even know that it's the real you that's talking to them? It's getting so good now. I was watching some of those videos and I was going, wow, how will people know that they're watching a real video of me? Like even now, it seems like we are getting so close now to be able to have even a video that you're watching right now or a podcast. I mean, I know Stephen Bartlett was talking about this, how for their podcast, the Diary of a CEO, they've been testing AI-generated podcasts, just the audio, with the real ones. And they've been able to get it to a level where the engagement levels are either the same or even better, if I remember right, but at least the same as the real ones. So this is just voice, but it was fully AI-generated. And video is just the next step. It's not going to be that much, well, there's a lot of things, there's a lot to be said about body language and things like that. So you can see some deep fakes at the moment. There was one of RFK Jr. the other day, and it was a video. It was it looked like it was recorded in the Oval Office, and it looked so real. But you could tell there were just some little things that were a little bit off. Like his body language was actually quite good, but there were people standing around him. Like Trump was next to him, and he, for example, at one point he said something really out of character and kind of shocking, and Trump next to him was just sort of standing there with no reaction on his face. So it's like there was not necessarily a visual cue from RFK, the deep fake version of him, but the visual cue came from a non-response from someone next to him. So I was able to sort of just go, oh, hang on, this is not real, you know? But it was pretty damn well done. And we're still at the beginning of this. So who knows where the heck this is going to end up. But that's why I am working on this new thing called Your Last Moat. Because I think there is a window of opportunity here for us humans. You know, if you're a founder, if you're a creative person, if you're someone who's a thought leader, if you have any kind of knowledge that you want to share with the world and you want to build a profile, I think there's a window of opportunity here for you to take advantage of that right now. And it's going to mean that you've got to get out there. You've got to create content. You've got to create real content. The kind of content that hopefully people can see that it's the real you and that they can build a real relationship with you as opposed to a potential copy of you in the future. So you've got to start thinking about how can you create content in such a way that it's obviously not AI. Maybe you've got to take things offline. Maybe you've got to start creating actual communities of people where it's obvious, 100% obvious that it's not AI. Or maybe it's physical get-togethers where you can see the person or they can see you. You can shake hands with them. Building those sort of communities. Because in the near future, that having everything online, you might not be able to tell the difference between what's real and what's not. And how are you going to build that relationship? And how are you going to build that trust? Will the AI be so good that that trust will be transferred? I don't know. Or is there going to be some sort of an upheaval at some point where people will go, we can't trust AI anymore because we don't know if it's AI. And if it's AI and we can't tell if it's AI, how can we trust it? How can we trust that it's got the best intentions for us? You know, so those are all things we're going to have to deal with as humanity. And I'm not sure if we're ready for it. It's like, it's moving so quickly. And like I'm at the forefront of it, I suppose, because I'm, dealing with it kind of every day. And I talk to other people who are at the front of the wave. I call it front surfing. And when you're front surfing, you're sitting there at the front of the wave and all your buddies are next to you and you're talking about how cool it is here in the front of the wave. But in the meantime, there's the bigger part of the wave still coming and they have no idea what's happening in the front of the wave. And you don't realize that front surfing. And I think that's easy to happen. So if you're one of those people, just be aware of that. Like you might know heaps about AI and you might have a really good understanding of it and might feel like everyone is talking about the same stuff. But you just go out to a different bubble. I was at a dinner the other day and I asked people if they knew what vibe coding was. And for me, it was like an everyday term now. And none of them knew what it was. And I was like kind of shocked in a way because I thought everybody's talking about this. But everybody's talking about it in my little bubble that I've got online. So that's also really, really interesting to think about. So where does this leave us? I think just to bring it back to where things are now, and I think where things are going in the future, I want to reiterate that I think there is a window of opportunity for us as humans, and maybe more specifically for us as creators, whether you're creating software or whether you're creating content or whether you're creating information or entertainment. There's a window of opportunity for us to still build that audience of real people with the real us and to build that trust with those people. And who knows how long that opportunity is going to last, how long that window will be open. I don't know. I'm hoping it'll stay open forever. And I'm hoping that is truly the last moat that we have that we can protect in a way. But who knows? Maybe that'll be irrelevant in 6 months, 12 months from now. I don't know. Anyway, I would love to know your thoughts on this. It's a very, very interesting topic for me. That's close to my heart. I'm starting my thinking and research and building resources around building either a free resource for this or maybe writing a book in the future. I'm putting this out in the public. I'm building this in public, so to speak. I think it's a topic that needs to be talked about, especially in the wider circles for those people a little bit later on, or, what do you call it? They're still, the big wave hasn't arrived for them yet. The big wave of AI is still going to hit them. And I just think that the growth curve of AI has been so quick, and us as human beings, we predict things linearly, not exponentially. I think that exponential curve has been just taking off so quick that a lot of people are being left behind, and that is worth talking about. So let me know your thoughts in the comments wherever you're watching this. Make sure you subscribe and follow along. I'm going to be sharing a lot more about this. I'm going to be digging into how we can use AI to help create more advantage, not less, to deepen our moat as human beings and as founders and as business people and as content creators. I'm going to be looking into that and looking at more and more ways to help us build something of value that can resist or be protected against any onslaught of, things like AI removing all competitive advantages in the future. So make sure you subscribe, stay tuned, and let me know what you think. Talk to you soon.